So I'm in Carnegie Hall to perform Gustav Mahler's Resurrection Symphony. And like its title, this is a monumental work for a large orchestra and chorus. And one of my wife's clients, Fred, he flew in from Seattle for this. Fred loves Mahler. So after the concert, we're having dinner. Fred's ecstatic. I think it's the Mahler. No. You know, for Fred, he just finished a race in the Atacama Desert in Chile. And his face is all aglow because he's describing how he's running through this slot canyon under the desert night sky. And he says, you know, next to the birth of my daughters, this was the most mystical religious experience of my life. And then he looks at me and he said, you look like a runner. And you know, as an artist, you've got to do Atacama. I said, you know what, Fred? Somehow running in the driest place on earth at my age, I'll take a pass, right? 3 years go by. I'm now in Prague, and I'm visiting with Susanna Ruzicova. Susanna had survived Terezin, Auschwitz, and Bergen-Belsen. And after the war, she went on to become one of the great harpsichordists of the 20th century. Now, at this time, I'm in the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and I'm also a Holocaust music scholar, researching, recovering, and performing music of composers who perished in the Holocaust. And Susanna was really big in helping me with my research. But on this given day, she implores me. She says, you must really tend to this inner bank account. Fill it with great music, art, and painting. You need not be in Auschwitz, but we all have periods of despair, and you need to be able to draw from your inner bank account. And she squeezes my arm to make the point. About 10 days later, I'm back in Brookline, and I am driving our daughter, Sarah, to school, when bam, this car plows into the driver's side door. Sarah and my wife, Kate, who was 9 months pregnant with Asher, they're fine. I get out of the car, and from my shoulder down onto my thumb, I feel like it's just been wrenched from my body. Right? But I dismiss it because, you know, I think, it's the shock of the accident, and I've got to get on a flight to Omaha to solo with the orchestra. Pain gets worse. It gets so bad that it's excruciating to just try to get the instrument up. I end up taking painkillers to perform. I know something's not quite right. For the next 3 years, I go through 4 surgical procedures on my shoulder. God knows how many hours of physical therapy, all to no avail. My career in the Boston Symphony, it's over. A huge door had closed not only on my career, my art, and a major part of my identity. You know, I had been performing since I was 4 years old, right? All those countless hours of practicing, rehearsing, performing gave me purpose and meaning. But the thing that I really missed, being immersed in those rich harmonies of Brahms, the sublime pathos of Bach and Beethoven, or the exhilaration of playing like Stravinsky's Rite of Spring or that finale of Beethoven's Ninth. And think about what it feels like to be at one with this music, with your fellow musicians and the audience. It's a mystical, transcendent space like no other experience. And once you've experienced, you crave it. My soul needed it, and now I've lost it. So the day that I submit my resignation to the BSO, who should be in town? Atacama Fred. So we're having lunch, and I'm giving him the news. He doesn't miss a beat. He said, great, we can do Atacama next year, right? My wife She backs him up. Yeah, you do need to do this. I am cooked, all right? I mean, here I am, I'm rudderless at sea, right? And these guys are sending me out into the desert, right? So let me tell you what this race is about. It's 155 miles over 6 days. That is 6 back-to-back marathons. It is self-sustaining. That means I have to carry a 20-plus pound pack of my gear and all my food for the week. So I get a trainer. She puts me on this endless routine of squats, lunges, sit-ups, long mileage, power hikes, and runs. So my life, which had been flats and sharps, is now about like calories and kilometers, right? One other thing she says to me, I think you should get a playlist for your iPod. iPod. This is my new musical instrument, the iPod, right? So, a few days before I leave for the race, I go to see a dear friend and mentor, Dr. Anna Ornstein. Now, Anna survived being sent to Auschwitz twice. And then after the war, she went on to be preeminent, and I mean legendary psychiatrist of her generation. So who better to see when you're freaking out over this race, right? I tell her what I'm in for. She looks at me, and in her Hungarian accent and laser-like eyes, she said, "You must have acceptance and gratitude. Okay. You must accept whatever you must endure, and you must be grateful. I repeat, acceptance and gratitude. Now go on and do this Michigan race," right? So the day of the race comes. Day 1 starts at 8 a.m. at an altitude of 11,000 feet, right? That backpack of mine suddenly feels a hell of a lot heavier, all right? It's a grueling day. The temps reach over 100 degrees. I'm several miles in, and all of a sudden, the flag markers, they mark the course, they're gone, right? So one of the locals had grabbed a batch of them. I'm looking out, way out in this vista of sand, and I see other racers, they're in the same pickle as I am in. I head towards them. Eventually, I catch up to Atacama Fred. We find our way back on there, and under the scorching sun, right, we are talking about politics, music, art, cooking, family. It's like one of these epic conversations that really bond you to a person, right? But the most important thing is, it got me over that damn finish line, right? So I fall into my tent. I'm a mess of euphoria and exhaustion. The next 2 days, to say they're challenging, that's to put it mild. The terrain is treacherous. The heat is unrelenting. I'm exhausted. I'm holding on to Anna's acceptance and gratitude. Right? That can only take me so far. All right. I'm digging deeper, and then I started thinking about those composers who wrote this incredibly beautiful music under unimaginable brutality, deprivation, and death. Suddenly, that race, it pales. I continue on. We get to day 4. My body is a wreck, all right? I've had to bore holes through my toenails to release the blood underneath, right? The soles of my feet, bloodied blisters, right? Every step now is a new experience of a level of pain I've never imagined, right? I get into the checkpoint, and I now spend the next 40 minutes rebandaging my feet. And while this is going on, I've got my inner desert demons talking. You already did 3 marathons. You get to walk away proud. And then I hear the voices of friends who say, this race, this is so not you. I give you 1-2 days tops, right? Great. So I have that going on. And then, I see the image of Asher giving me the thumbs up. And meanwhile, while that's going on, I also see in the offing the sweepers. Now, the sweepers, these are the people who collect the flags, and then if they catch up to you, you're disqualified, right? So between that and the voices, and then I go back to Asher with a thumbs up, and I just say, the hell with this. I pull the insoles out of my shoes, I jam my swollen feet in there, and I turn on my iPod. I crank it really loud. And the fear of the dreaded sweepers and Chaka Khan get me moving, all right? And I mean, I'm moving and a grooving, okay? Because in the next 45 minutes, I've passed at least a half dozen racers, and I get over the finish line. Now, I will say to you, that's acceptance, right? Gratitude, not so much, all right? We get to day 5. It's not 26 miles. Oh no, it's over 50 miles. It's called the Long March, right? We're into late afternoon, and I am staring up at this massively steep sand dune. I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the pyramids look like anthills, right? And I'm slogging my way up, digging my poles in. Meanwhile, the wind is sandblasting my body. Keep going, we get into the night. And with the night, the temperatures plummet, and so too do my spirits. I'm leaving the next to last checkpoint. I'm cold, I'm shivering, I am exhausted. I'm in like a catatonic-like state. I have been on that course for over 18 hours. I am now reduced to electrolytes, caffeine, and music. So I fumble in the dark for my iPad, and I turn on the finale to Mahler's Resurrection Symphony. I mean, this is the piece that got me into this mess, right? So imagine this finale. We're getting near the end, and the orchestra is like this locomotive. It's just a wall and a wave of sound that's pushing the chorus to this ecstatic declaration of the soul has risen. And then the music is over, and I am surrounded in the dark silence of the desert. And then I look up, and I see that spellbinding Atacama night sky. It's ablaze with stars. I swear to you, I feel like I can reach up and slice my hand through the Milky Way. And then at that moment, I start sobbing. I am filled with one wave after the next of gratitude. Gratitude for what I had lost, gratitude for what I have. That race and that magnificent sky had given me what I thought I had lost forever, to be back in that mystical, transcendent space. And then my inner bank account, it was overflowing. Thank you.